What's up, YouTube? Steve with Equinox Tactical Supply. Welcome back to the channel. So, this is part number 2 of the build series for the M72B1. In the last video, we mounted the trunnions, drilled the holes, dimpled the receiver, and that's all we had time for in that video. So today, we're going to be riveting all the rivets into the receiver and putting the receiver back together. So, without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, we've got the jig set up on the press here. We're going to press in the rear trunnion long rivets. So we've got this little dished puck here, and that is going to support the formed side of the rivet. The other side are just posts sticking out. So basically, you stick this under here, and these little hard rubber blocks keep the receiver from twisting while you're pressing this rivet. But basically, what you want to do is get the puck set up under there so that you can support the formed side of the rivet head. Alrighty. And once you have your support blocks under there, you can take this little piece here, right? This goes around the guide to line everything up. This is kind of like a locking block. So you have two little pieces of tooling here. This one has a hole drilled in it, and you use this as an alignment guide. You stick it down through the guide here. Oop, let me get a little room there. Stick it down through the alignment hole, and you let the fall right down on the rivet, and that's gonna line everything up for you. Then you take this little locking block, and one of the things that this does, you screw the alignment tool down on here. You use a wrench to kind of snug everything up so it doesn't move. And another thing that this does is help put pressure on the head of the rivet so it stays flushly mounted against the receiver on the bottom end here. Alrighty. There we are. There's one rear rivet. Bam! Alright, let's stick the other one in, and we will do the other rear rivet. Alright, I had to go to the drill press and chase that hole real quick for this one, because if you gotta hammer these in, they're too tight. You don't want them to be loose, but you want them to just fit in there so that you can push them nice and flat and flush. If you gotta hammer it in, it's too tight, you need to chase the hole. Alright, let's get this one lined up under there. Here, let me do it backwards here so you can see what's going on. Alright. Oh, I can't do it backwards. Alright, I'll just spin things around here for you so you can see what's going on. And there we go. Now we can do it backwards so you can see. Alright. So you get that little puck lined up under there on the rivet head. And alright, you stick your alignment pin down in here on top of the rivet. Boom! And then you get your little... Oops, a little too far. Sorry, I'm kind of struggling to try to do this around the camera so you can see what's going on. Alright. So that's in there. We get this screwed down nice and tight. Snug it down with the wrench. Sometimes that pin gets caught in there. And so I'm just checking to make sure as I snug this down that it's still loose. Alrighty, a little bit more. Alright, we got that snug down. We'll take our alignment pin out. We will put our rivet forming pin in. Alright, then we can start pressing this one. Wearing a headlamp today for you to try and see if we can shed a little bit more light on the situation. I noticed in the last video that it was kind of hard to see some of the stuff that was going on. So, alright, we're forming this guy here. Hopefully you can see that squishing down really, really nicely. And I think we're there. Yes, sir. Bam. Nice and beautiful. And the front trunnion long rivet is exactly the same process. I took the liberty of doing the front trunnion rivet. It's the same as the back ones. You didn't miss anything. So now we're moving on to these last two swell neck rivets that are in the mag well. So you see the swelled neck there. We get her stuffed right up in there. Just like the other ones, you put it down on this little support puck. Now we've got the arm here with the flat squeezer on there, right? And now these ones you gotta squish flat without a rounded head on them because they need to be out of the way of the magazine. One thing I forgot to mention, you actually want to see if you can, you want to pull this arm in as far as you can get it and still do your work, because the further in this arm is, the more support, the less it's going to bend, the less things are going to tend to be a little bit off. Alright, we're there now. Sorry about that. Here we go. Alrighty. There is one. Alrighty, we checked the fitment with a magazine and it's beautiful. So we will do this one on this side. Sorry, just trying to get situated here behind the camera. Alright. And we'll stick this one in here. Stick that one on there. I'm gonna move my whole setup over just a little bit because I use this to hold up the other end of the receiver so it's nice and straight. Alright, can you see that? Let me, boom, there we go. Is that better? Alright, we'll get this in here. I need to loosen that up a little bit and go in just a tad. Okay. Alright, can you see that in there? I think we're ready, so we'll just start coming down. Squish. Alright, let's test the magazine in there. Where'd I put it? There it is. Alright, let's see here. Beautiful. No interference at all. So, we've got the front ones in. We've got the rear ones in. So I just realized akbuilder.com, now this doesn't happen very often, we've bought a lot of stuff from them over the years. They forgot to add these rivets in this particular kit, so we'll call Lonnie over there and I'm sure he'll send them right over. But in the meantime, we're going to work on the handguard and pistol grip mount back here. So let's get the jigs set up for that and we'll start pressing those in. Okay guys, we're set up over here. We got our next piece of tooling that we're going to use to mount our trigger guard and our pistol grip mount on the receiver. This is also an AK Builder jig. So as of February 2021, these are available on the AK Builder website for $65. I'll show you what they come with. Look at this here. A hardened steel block. And you got this little thing with a slightly offset. I don't know if you can tell, but that divot is offset. It's closer to this side. And I'll show you why later. Alright, so the way you use this thing, you take your rivets and your trigger guard, you stick your rivets in your trigger guard. And then you can grab them and you just take your trigger guard and you set it down in here. And those divots sort of hold your rivet heads in place. There. Now you take your safety stop and you stick that on there on top of these. Come on. There you go. And just for lining stuff up here. So the divot here being closer to this side than this side, this goes over here, and that closer side goes to the rounded end of your trigger guard in the back here. And you can stick your rivet up in there. There. Now, so these four are going to go in these four holes, and we're going to use this rear one here right now for alignment to keep everything right where it needs to be. And you set your receiver down on the rivets. Take your time and line everything up real nice so they pop right in there. This might take me just a second. There. Alright, now that that's on there like that, so they give you this hardened steel block that you put down in your receiver, and this pushes the rivets in and squishes them. So this is a 100% receiver, so the guide rails are already welded in here and the center support is in there. So you have to modify this slightly because they made it for like an 80% blank with no rails welded in. You just got to grind a little bit off so it fits between that guide rail. And then you got your push block here. This has the notch in it to go around your center support. You just set that down on there like that. And then we'll bring everything over to the press and squish those front trigger guard rivets. Alright, we got everything over here on the press pretty much lined up for the most part. So, we just need to get that under the ram, bring it down. Now when you do this, you want to put some downward pressure on the receiver just to make sure that your rivets are set up in the bottom here where they belong. Alright, make sure everything's lined up still here. You know what I'm going to do real quick? I'm just going to grab the trigger guard mount real quick and put that under there for a spacer. That way everything is lined up the way it should be. Alright. Alrighty, let's have a look-see at what we did here. Get that little plate out of the way. Alright, those look good. Let me see if I can get a light on this situation for you. So, those guys right down in there, they got crushed. On that side they got crushed. I don't know if you can tell, but because you have to grind the hardened plate ever so slightly, the very outside edges of those rivets aren't crushed. It just misses them, but that's absolutely fine. They formed well. So let's move on to the pistol grip mount. Alright, so we've got the front of our trigger guard on. We're going to put our pistol grip mount on here. So let me get that lined up. Put a rivet in there. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Now, we'll get this in here. And we'll stick one of the other rivets in from up top, just to keep everything lined up. There we go. Alright, I had to move a plate so that I could get lined up here. Alright, so this 3/8 block with the little rivet cup in the bottom. Remember I said the closer side goes towards the rounded edge of the trigger guard. It just gets it a little bit closer and lines it up. So you're going to use this block to press it again, but instead of it being this way to get around the center support, you're just going to turn it over. Alright. Bring the ram down. Now this one's not going to take quite as much pressure as the front did, because we were crushing 4 rivets at once on the front, and right now we're only doing 1. Alright. Check our alignment again. Everything looks good. Let's squish it. Alright, one more push. Not quite there. Beautiful. Have a look at that. Very nice. Now we can do these back too. Let me just pop that rivet out that I stuck in there for alignment. If I can get my fat fingers in there. Alright. So we'll pop this one in from this side now. And we've got one more over here. We'll stick those in. Alright, so we're going to do this one here behind the threaded section for the pistol grip. We're not going to do this one because this particular baggie of rivets was lacking unfortunately, which is not a big deal. Like I said, I'll just contact Lonnie at AK Builder and let him know, and he'll hook me up, as he would anyone else, because he loves building AKs and he wants everyone else to love them as much as he does. So we've got this little piece here. We'll get you nice and close in there. Can you see that there? So what I do here is I just stand it up on this. I stand up the block on end, and we'll just stick that in there. Alright, bring the press down and we'll crush that one. Look at that. Those are gorgeous. Alright, well, that is it for now. We are going to take a break. A very short one for you guys. I'm going to wait until those other rivets come in, and then we will keep going on this. But it won't seem like any time for you guys. Okay, it's been just a few seconds here, and we did get the replacement rivets from AK Builder, no problem. Actually, what I did is I ordered just a whole nother rivet pack, because I like to have some extra ones on hand, just, you know, in case we mess one up or something like that. It does happen occasionally. So we are going to finish riveting this hole and this hole. So we'll stick the rivet in the receiver. Let's see, which side are we going to do? Let's do this side so you can see what's going on. So we stick it in there, and we put our little cup down there to hold it. Boop. Alright, then we lift our arm here and stick it right through where the barrel goes. Boom. And remember, we pull it back in here as close as we can get it to the ram, so we have less flex. Tighten this little bugger up. Alright, let me slide this under the ram. Alright, hopefully you can see the rivet down in there. It's not going to take much to squish this one. There's not a whole lot there. Okay, remember, while you're doing this in the press, you want to keep downward pressure on the receiver to make sure your rivet is flat against the outside surface of your receiver. Let's have a check there. Alright, let's have a look at this one. That is very nice. And we'll do the other one. Alright, we're going to do this side now. Stick the rivet in. Stick it on the little cup here. Slide this in. Alright, let's see. Can you see what's going on there? Maybe that's a little too much light. There we go. It's right on the head of the rivet. Well, on the tail rather. And we're gonna squish that down. And there we have it. So you want to make sure when you squish these ones that they are out of the way. They're squished down far enough to get out of the way of where you're going to press the barrel in, because they've got to clear that or you'll shave off the rivet you just made. So these ones are pressed nice. They're formed well. They're out of the way of having the barrel pushed in against them. So now we're going to tackle this last one here. Now, on this particular build, I like to use one of the long rivets instead of one of the short rivets they provide for back here, which is another reason why I like to have extra rivet sets laying around, because it's pressing through into this extra piece of the rear trunnion here, this little tail on the rear trunnion. So I like them to look very uniform when I do them, and if you use the third short rivet that's provided with the kit, it just doesn't squish down the same. There's barely anything there to squish. So let me grab one of the long rivets and we will set up to press that last rivet in. Alright, we're set up here to do this last rivet into that little tab on the rear trunnion. I am talking about this little, well, if I can get out of the light here, this extension on the rear trunnion. This rivet is going to go through that. I'll stick it in there. Boop. You see it sticking up in here. We'll just put that right there. We'll drop our press block down in here. Now let's press on the fat part, shall we? Bring our press down, get it close. Here, let me tilt that up a little bit so you can see what's going on. Alright, here we go. Alright, there you have it. It is a beautiful thing. See, if you use that short rivet that comes with that, there would barely be any head there, which is why I like to use one of the long rivets from another kit. And we're done with the riveting. How riveting. Alright, so we have drilled and dimpled the receiver for the front and rear trunnion installation. We have riveted the front and rear trunnion in place. We have the trigger guard and the pistol grip mount riveted in place. That is the end of this second installation of the build series. In the next video, we will be pressing in the barrel, setting the headspace, and drilling and pinning the barrel. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell so you'll know when the next video in the series comes out and all of our future videos. Hit that like button. Love you guys. I'll see you next time.